What's going on, everybody? I am here to do a review for the movie The Equalizer 3, and let me just say this: if this is truly the final chapter of this series, then I would say that they definitely went out with a bang. I'm talking about from beginning to middle to end. But what else do you expect from Denzel Washington? Even if the movie is mid, Denzel Washington is always going to give you a top tier performance. And I have to say, this was one of the best movies in the series. I'm a huge fan of the Equalizer series. I have actually gone to the theater and paid to see every last one since the first one came out back in 2014, I believe. I believe the first one came out in 2014, and it's crazy to believe that we are in 2023 with what is most likely the final chapter of this movie. So this movie takes mainly pretty much all in Italy, because as you know, the first two took place in the States, more so in Boston, Massachusetts, where the character Robert McCall, that's played by Denzel Washington, is from. And this time he is in Italy. I believe he kind of left it hanging at the end of the second one that he wanted to go on vacation or something like that, and that's exactly where he is. But it seems like this vacation is a little bit lengthy because I believe he wants to actually just live there and just like stay away from the States. So he's in Italy, and things are seemingly going well for a little bit, but then of course he finds a way and ends up getting pulled back into that life of having to take out the real bad guys. He comes in and he just saves the day. He puts that timer on, counts down to 9 seconds, and then he goes to work and he goes in. When I tell you, this guy in this movie was going crazy whenever it was time for him to like really wreck shop. I mean, just that. I'm talking about from the first kills that he made. And I like how with the first kills that he makes, the audience is really already pulled in, and it lets you know, he was here. Especially if you've watched the movies, you know what type of time this dude is on, and he wastes no time. When his time to get down and dirty, that's exactly what he does. And I like how calculated he really is. He knows body movements. He knows, how to really read a person before they even say a word, all the way down to gestures. Like, this guy is like, he knows how to really read somebody very, very well, even down to speech patterns and tone and all. Like, this guy's like a walking Expendables character. He's like, the movie The Expendables. He's like all of the Expendables characters wrapped into one body. And let me just tell you, if Robert McCall ever existed in real life to this extent, if I needed a bodyguard, that's the only one you'll need. That is the only one I would ever need. Or I would ask them, can they train me on how they do the things that they do? And I like how so well-rounded he is with the weaponry. He doesn't have to just use a gun. He can use anything in the environment to his disposal. I mean, we're talking guns, knives, fire pokers, wine bottles, his own hands. He knows pressure points. Like, you probably saw it in the trailer when he had pressed down on this man's hand and told him like, what would happen if I get from a 3 to a 4 and then you shit on yourself. Like, that is crazy how he's able to do that. He's using vehicles to do what he does, and he does it all without breaking a sweat. He doesn't break one bead of sweat. It's so casual for him. It's literally like a walk in the park for him. But I got too far ahead. I didn't even give you the synopsis. So basically, like I said, he's in Italy. Everything's, seemingly going right. It's this business as usual, just like another day for him. And he's basically now starting to ingrain himself into the life into Italy, especially since he's the only black man there. Not the only just the black man, but seemingly the only American that's there amongst everyone else that is there. And he basically comes across this family, and they pretty much taking a liking to him because he's so charismatic. He's very well versed. People like him. He's a real friendly guy until you cross him or cross some people that he actually does indeed care about. And basically the main antagonist of the film is, his goal is that they plan on taking this area and pretty much in a way gentrifying it, because he's very heavy into the drug game. He's, I guess you could say, part of the mob. Kind of like the Italian mafia. That's the best way to put it. And they pretty much run everything. Like, they got those people like scared shitless over there to really bust a move at them. and if they don't make a move the way that they want them, then they will deal with them. It was one part in the movie that completely took me off guard that happened, like I would say within the first 20 minutes of it. I'm not going to spoil it, but when you see it, it's like my jaw actually dropped when I actually saw that, and I actually felt like went and sank back into my chair when I saw it, because I could not believe they actually did it. It was so brutal and so in a torturous way. It's like you can't believe someone actually did that on film. But the crazy part about it is that could most likely happen in real life, and that's the scary part about the whole scenario when you look at the movie for what it is. The antagonist was actually very, very good, very menacing, and it's crazy because most of the movie had to have subtitles because a lot of the characters in the movie, the side characters, had to speak. They were speaking in Italian, so a lot of it was I would say that a good 50% of this movie was in Italian and the other 50% was in English. So if you don't really like it like that, then you know that might actually take you out of it, but it actually helps progress the story along, and it actually makes sense that they do it since they are in Italy when they're filming this movie. One thing I also like too was that it was a reuniting of Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning. You know, they did that movie Man on Fire, I think back in 2004. And I believe that was the only movie they did together at the time. But this is the first movie they've done together since that movie. So you're talking about they haven't done a movie with each other in almost 20 years. So this was a way for them to reunite with each other. And they actually kind of popped her in the trailer. And basically her role is she plays a CIA agent who pretty much gets connected into this because Robert McCall is trying to help her solve this case. And like I said, the guy is so resourceful and so tactful that he specifically called her. And still, she didn't even find out like really why he called her or what made him call her, because he always kind of leaves what he does kind of like in mystery, kind of shrouded in a mystery of why he called her. But I guess he felt she was the best person for the job. He probably was most likely keeping tabs on her. Like I said, the guy is very tactful and resourceful, so he has a way of finding things out about people before they even know a shred of anything about him. For instance, when the main antagonist of the movie was trying to find anything on this dude, they couldn't find nothing. They was like, is he FBI? No. Is he US Marshals? No. Is he Interpol? No. Like, is he a part of a mob family? We don't know. Like, it's like this guy literally is like a phantom that you can see, but you know nothing about him. And that's what makes this character so dope, is because you don't know much about him. You just know that he's a badass. He can be nice when he wants to be, and you know he'll care about you if you know that if you're worth caring about. But if you step out of line, he gonna F you up, and that's really all there is to it. As y'all can see right there, I said Robert McCall is the definition of FAFO. If y'all don't know what that means, let's fuck around and find out. Because there was one scene in the movie where he was welcoming the smoke with the main antagonist, to the point where the main antagonist was like, is this guy for real? Like, does he really think that he's gonna take me down? And I have his whole crew and it's just one man. And that's the other thing, they underestimate this man's abilities. They underestimate him because he's just one person, and they think because he's an American, oh, he's so arrogant, like of course he's gonna puff his chest out, nothing's gonna happen. And that's the point, which is also going back to why I believe nobody knows anything about him, because if they did, they would know not to F with him. They would know not to mess with this dude. They would try to steer clear, and that's what makes it even more better, because they walk into a situation thinking they're going to win and don't realize who they're dealing with. Only us in the audience knows, and only the character on screen knows. And that's what makes this whole situation with the Robert McCall character so dope. I wish that they didn't have to do what they did to John Wick and John Wick Chapter 4. I wish they could have kept him alive, because there was always talks about how we wanted to see the John Wick character and the Robert McCall character collab or do a crossover where they link up and they have to take out some people. That would be a dope movie. I wouldn't want to see them go against each other, because like it's like, nah, I don't want to see that. Actually would have seen that. Would have been a dope team up movie, but because they killed John Wick off, spoiler alert, I mean, by this time y'all should have seen the movie been out for months now. They killed his character off, which was a good ending for him. That was a good ending for his story. So we'll never actually see that actually happen, and I hope they don't do no random stuff and find a way to bring him back and say, oh, here he is and he's about to pop. No, because as far as I know, this is the last Equalizer movie. So that won't even happen if this is truly indeed the last film. But if it is, it definitely closed its chapter out the way that it needed to be. The action was on point, the sound was great, the directing, shout out to Antoine Fuqua for doing this movie. You know, he has worked with Denzel Washington quite a few times, you know, going back to Training Day. What other movie he worked with him on? Antoine Fisher, and probably some other movies I can't think of, but they make a pretty solid team as far as actor director, sort of like how the Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler relationship is as far as actor director. And I believe Antoine Fuqua did all of the Equalizer movies, if I'm not mistaken. So that's about 5 or 6 movies that they've done together over the course of each of their careers. So definitely it was great. The cinematography was great. The landscaping was great. You really got to see Italy. Italy became like a character in and of itself. It's a very nice looking area. I'm glad they shot it on location, but I'm definitely sure they had the budget. This is a Sony movie after all. But all in all, the Equalizer 3, I went into this movie with high expectations. It met and then exceeded my expectations. I really did enjoy this movie. Like I said, Denzel Washington, in my eyes and in my book, can do no wrong. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.